Welcome to another MMORPG devlog. In the last video we finally have the first ever connection between two clients using the server, and I am here with the server opened and I have two clients and I can send messages like hi and hello, and if you see the message goes out from this terminal past inside the server and then goes back to the other client, if I can open it, of course. And of course, in this client, I can answer the message and they're gonna receive in the other side, okay? We do have a problem here that we need to address. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe because I'm doing almost daily devlogs on this MMORPG. I'm gonna work up to an hour a day and I'll register everything, so hopefully you're gonna learn something new, and that's very fun, okay? We have a problem here because if a client is connected and I keep the server will not gonna keep until the disconnection of this client, and that's not what you want, of course, because we want to be able to. Oh, that's annoying. Let me pass this monitor. We want to be able to just keep the server anytime you want, okay? So let's fix that first. I'm gonna go to my game server and I have like the run terminal stuff, terminal.run, and what it does here in the terminal, let me open the terminal interface. When the user presses kill or quit to quit the game, it's simply setting the server running to false. But another thing that we can do is that we can create another function here in the terminal interface, maybe call it shutdown clients, force disconnect every connected client. And I'm gonna have to call the same message in the server, so let me change this. The game server, let me put like here the dev shutdown clients. So I'm gonna call server dot shutdown clients, and when I quit the game I will first shut down the clients, okay? Very simple here, and I need in my game server, when I want to shut down the client, I'm gonna iterate over all the connections and I'll call like a shutdown method here. And in my client handle, of course, we need to implement the shutdown inside it. So let me do it. Let me do it here. Like run, I have the dev shutdown. The shutdown, you set the running to false because we have like running stuff. No, we don't have a running. While server is running. Let me think real quick. Because we need a way to shut down this. Maybe if we just close the connection. Let's try to close the connection. I think that's the best option here. And then let me play the game. I'm just sitting a little bit better, more comfortable here. And if I spawn a new client, please connections, I have a new connection. Let me shut down. I don't remember. Shut down clients. So there is an exception called connection aborted error. We need to handle this. So accept connection aborted. I will just break. Okay, very simple. We don't need to print this because we already know this exception, but we have like can't communicate to the server. We have this error here, and probably we need to shut down the client as well. I think that's enough. And if I press kill to quit, it's gonna quit just fine. Let me try it again, and I'm gonna connect to the server, and I'm gonna press quit, and here we go. It's working, and the server is no longer active. That's amazing. That's awesome. Okay. We need something that we may want to do in the client is when we have this error. No, we already set running to false. Okay, it's okay. It's all good. It's okay. Now, what we do need to accomplish in this video, and that's the whole point, is to do the same thing that we did in the client handle. There's a bunch of if and elifs to handle every type of message, every type of header that we have here. And if you remember, we have a list of all the possible messages. So now, since we are talking in the client side, we need to validate the server messages, because this is the client, of course. So here, I'm gonna do like if header equals to common dot validate in, I'm gonna do stuff and so on. Okay, so this is the next stuff that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna time lapse it as I did in the client handle part, because it's the same thing, folks. There's nothing new here. It's literally the same thing, and I'm gonna save you some time. So here we go. Let's gonna time lapse it. Alright, I think we have everything we need here. I wrote all the headers in the client side. In other words, all the headers that the server you're gonna send to the client, they are all written and handled properly. Of course, not handled, but I'm receiving the data and parsing the data to a common format. So what we need to do now is to basically make this thing work. We need to make the logging, all the procedures here that we defined it in the communication flows. So if you remember, we have the flow here. We need to write down the flow data here. It's the next step that we're gonna do. Okay, it's not very complicated, but again, it requires a little bit of time. But there is another thing that we need to do first, like before the procedure, that we need to give to every connected user an ID. And this ID, I'm thinking here, it doesn't need to be the same across different logins. In other words, if you log in the server like 2 times, you can have 2 different IDs. The only thing that is important is that if a user have an ID, the other users cannot have the same ID. So a very simple approach to an ID system is to grab the server, the game server, and create a counter. So let me do self ID count equals to 0. And again, I'm not sure if I need a log to this, but I'm gonna add a log anyways. Because I don't know, I just feel more comfortable with a log here. Maybe unnecessary. Again, leave in the comments if you think this is unnecessary because it's Python. In C++, I'm using to do like std atomic size t, and that's okay. But again, this is not C++, this is Python, and I'm not sure. So I'm gonna create a function here in the server called get next ID. So get next ID. It's gonna return an integer for the ID, and what you're gonna do is with self.id count lock, I'm gonna do like, let me put the ID here, and I'm gonna do ID equals to self.id count, and then I will increment the ID count, and finally return the ID. In other words, this is literally a counter. So this is the ID count, and I can literally grab a random ID to the server, to the client. Okay, not random, by the way. This is not random. But the question here is, 2 different clients will never have the same ID. And if you log in 2 times, it's okay if you have 2 IDs. It's completely okay. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, when I create a new client handle, the very first thing that I'm gonna do inside the constructor of this client handle is grab a unique ID. So self ID equals to self.server.getNextID. okay? And maybe a great idea to put a getter to get the ID, okay? So like property def ID self, it's gonna return an integer, and I'm gonna return self.id. We don't want to have a setter to this, only a getter, okay? It's very important, because you don't want to set another ID to the same client. So every client, you're gonna have a unique ID. And right now, we have some places here where we actually need to pass an ID. And, oh, we are not handling that right now. We are not answering, we are not sending anything to the server, so it's okay for now to not send. But again, I have an ID to the user, okay? Another stuff that it's very important for us, and we are kind of starting to do the logging procedure, we need to encrypt and decrypt the message. This is something that we need to do to validate and to see that this object is like validated. We need to have we need to count some stuff. We need to first check if this user is valid, and we need to also log into an account, okay? That's simple. I'm not gonna do like persistent accounts, not right now, because that means that we're gonna have to save stuff to the disk. Not gonna worry about that, not yet, at least not in this video, but I will write the procedure to validate the string. So I'm gonna create here another function in the command called validate string, and I'm gonna make like a source that are gonna be a string, and I'm gonna returns the string. So returns the final encrypted string. And right now, the only thing that I'm gonna do is sort the string. So if you know Python, you can put a random string here, and I literally do anything, it doesn't matter. And we can have like sorted as, and this is gonna sort the string. This is literally what you're gonna do, okay? I may need to concatenate that into a string, like std string sorted as. I don't remember. No, I need to put like for every character in the string, I need to resort. It's not a problem, okay? But the thing is, this is going to return and full C insorted source, oops, out plus equal to C. I think this is going to be enough to sort the string, because we're going to receive the source string, and then we're going to sort. This is going to be the security of the server. And I know someone in the comment will go ahead and say, come on, you're not like doing anything secure here, you're just sorting the string. And I'm going to answer, yes, you are correct, but I'm not going to show the security stuff, the security stuff here live on YouTube, because, well, it's the security stuff. So for this video, for the sake of this video, and for the understanding, I will only sort the stuff. This is the only thing that I'm gonna do. Okay, and this means that the client needs to generate a random string. This is very important, and there's a lot of ways of doing this. I honestly don't know like a very good way of doing it. So for now, I will literally generate, I'm gonna create a class here called def generate random string, and this you're gonna generate, I'm gonna have like a source that is basically all the characters that you're gonna have that you can use to generate the string. I think Python have like the list of alphanumeric characters. Let me do it real quick. Well, honestly, don't judge me, folks, but I did the lazy way. I just paste like some characters here and generate like a random choice of 16 characters from this random list here, and this is going to be enough to generate like a random sequence of characters here. And we basically have enough to say to generate a random string. So in the constructor of the client, I'm gonna do self dot random string generate random string. We need to do that in the constructor because we're gonna send this message to the client as soon as the client sends hello to the server, and the client, we're gonna have to return this decrypted. Okay, so we can do that in this video, like literally in this video, because it's super simple. The first thing is like we have the hello, and this is the basically the stuff that we expect, but I will send the random string instead. Okay, so I'm sending the validate in message with the random string converted to bytes, just very simple. And now once the user receives the I need to convert this to bytes. Let me think here, because I think that this function will not gonna be good. What we need in this case, very specifically, I'm gonna encode by hand. Okay, so encode using Ascii, using the Ascii table. Okay, and now here we go. This is the validate out. This is literally the message that the user you're gonna send, gonna answer if it receives the validate in. And we are decoding this message, and I will literally check if message, we needed to check like decoded common dot validated string, gonna be the random string validated, and if the message is equal to the validated, the user is valid. Here we go. So valid user, and we need to answer asking for the login credentials. The login credentials header have nothing, if I remember correctly, so we don't need to send anything. We just need to say, hey, self.send message common.login credentials. We just need to ask, hey, please send me your credentials. You are accepted. Okay, but if not, now we have a problem, because this was denied, and we need to send the access denied header to the client. Okay, you already know this, invalid decrypted key. So we need to self.send message common.access denied. Let me actually just put this in the same line, otherwise it's gonna be a waste of time, waste of lines. Invalid user. And now we need to close, we need to shut down this this client. Okay, so I think that's just calling shutdown should do the trick. So self.shutdown. Stop it, don't connect with me, you are not valid, no, get out. Okay, and we need to have like a flag saying to the status of the client. Okay, so in the common, actually I can do a bunch of macros here. So see status waiting, this is the first one, 0. See status invalid, 1, and see status actually and A. Now waiting is important because we need to store like how the login is going on. Like, is this client validated? If it's waiting, it means that the client handle was just created, so we don't have any communication yet. It's waiting for something. If it's invalid, meaning it means that the random key output was not valid, and then it's invalid. And if the status is like valid, it means that we are waiting the log in. data. Nothing happened yet. Wrong validation key. Waiting the login data and see status logged. Correct logging. Because we need to define the status of this client. So self status is waiting by default, okay? And I'm gonna create like another getter for this. I think it's important to have a getter for the status of the client. Client status. Actually, log status or security status. I'm not sure the name of this. I think that's good. So waiting is the first one, and if the login is valid, so let me go ahead here in the valid user. I'm gonna change this to see status valid, and if not, I'll change that to see status invalid, and then we can continue it. And the next thing that we do is that in the client, we already know that when the server sends the validate in, we need to return the cryptographic string. So in the client validate in, this is the message, and we need to decrypt that. So out equals to common dot validated string message, and then we send it back. So self dot send message, and again this is going to send a message to the server. Common dot validate out, this the client is going to send this, and the payload of the validate out, if you remember here, is 16-byte the decrypted random string. So plus out dot encode Ascii. We need to encode that in Ascii. So I think that's literally it. Well, there's nothing magic going on. This is the validation. The access denied is bad stuff, and if the server sends the login credentials, I think I forgot to add this. I don't have the login credentials macro here. Let me figure out. Server after the access denied, I have the login credential. It's important to have this. And I'm not gonna send anything, not yet, because we need to program that. We need to do like the logging and stuff like that. But here's a time where the client is gonna send the username or the password and the email and stuff like that to try to log in. Okay. But in this video, we basically finished the base of the client handling the messages, and we even started to write down the flow, the login flow. And it's very, very boring and repetitive, but in the next video, I'm gonna edit this, so I'm gonna finish every step of this, and we will be able to finally log into the server, and then we will be able to start doing this inside Blender, which is something awesome, and I can't wait for that. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comment, leave in the comments, and I'm gonna try to answer as fast as possible, and I see you in the next video.